Mhm. And we can I don't know, we will wait
You're ready
a
to
little,
begin?
wait a little bit for the,
Okay, we'll
or we
wait.
can we can because we are still, most of the people are not still participating in the,
Okay.
and they will have the,
Okay, I'll go get
how,
my tea.
yes, everybody can prepare a little bit and shaking hand somehow. How is the weather? How is the weather in in Senegal now? I don't know. Is it cold or already warm, shiny weather? We still have snow here. The winter is still here.
Good morning.
Yes.
Asian, I don't understand.
The weather. How how is the weather outside?
The weather, the temperature.
The the weather, it's forecast somehow. The forecast. Is it raining or it's shining? The
Very hot.
temperature. The temperature.
It is hot.
It's hot. How
Right.
many? How many degrees? How many?
Uh, in Dakar,
The car.
30,
30 degrees.
30,
Wow,
30.
30 degrees Celsius. Wow, it's quite warm and hot. In Bulgaria, this morning, in the place where I am, it was minus 4,
Oh,
-4. It, now it's better. Now it's 15 degrees, 15.
15.
But in the morning was quite cold, quite cold.
Okay. The ambient temperature.
The water was frozen around. Everything was in ice, in ice. Now it's better. The sun is shining and it's quite better. Okay, and 30 degrees. And how many degrees are becoming during the summer? During the summer, how many? What is the highest temperature in in Dakar?
Summer in Dakar,
Oui,
the afternoon,
femme, non, non, pas un.
18 degree.
80.
Oui. 18.
80 is too high, I think. 18.
What's 80?
So it's small, 18 degree to high,
Oh, degrees? Oh, Celsius or Fahrenheit?
32, 35.
30 to 35 degrees
Celsius?
Celsius. Because
Oh,
now
okay.
now in Dakar it's 30 degrees Celsius, and I was explaining that this morning in Bulgaria, here where I am, was -4, which is a
Oh,
big
okay.
difference. Big difference between Bulgaria and Senegal. And
Yeah.
this
Oh
morning,
no, in Atlanta, where it's definitely springtime. I think it's like 70 or
But
72 Fahrenheit.
70.
but for
I think.
example, in the region of Tambacounda,
Yes.
Yeah. Does the radio tell
it,
you the weather?
it is very hot.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
It's south. This region
40,
it's south in Senegal.
45 degree way south of Senegal.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, all
Wow.
kinds of different weather there
They
for
have one moment 45 degree.
45 degrees. Wow.
45 degrees. Wow.
Centigrade. Yeah, when we were in Qatar, it was some days like that. They were like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. It was crazy, crazy hot. So hot that you felt like you couldn't breathe, you know, outside because it was too hot.
When it's 40 degrees, I think it's
Yeah. So today in Atlanta is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know how to do the calculation. I'm sure there's a nice.
Fahrenheit. It's almost 3 times. No,
Okay.
2 times and something. It's like if it's 60 degrees, it means that it's around 20 degrees Celsius or 20
Okay.
degrees Celsius. Yeah, I started counting when I had an American car
All right.
because everything was in miles, Fahrenheit, and
That's right. Yeah. The whole world is in the metric system, right? Except for us.
yeah, you have very different. But
Okay, are we ready to
in
start?
England, they drive a cars in the from the right side. They give some.
That's right. We drive on the other side of the road.
Yes. In Senegal, they drive in the left side of the road. I think. Yes. Is it? Where is the steering wheel of the car?
Mm.
On the left side, I think.
Like us in the United States,
Yeah,
then.
the same.
Uh-huh. All right. So who do we got here? Is everybody here?
Mm-hmm. Can we just
people signing in so we can begin?
Yeah, we can begin. I just wanted to ask everybody to say something as a hello and.
Yeah, so we know you're there.
Yes. Okay. We can. Who wants to start?
Okay.
Mr. Kehanton, do you want to say hello from your side? Mr. Mbaye as well.
Mr. Theodore.
Okay. There you
Hello.
Go. Hello.
Hello.
Excellent.
Hello. That's you too.
Welcome.
Hello.
Can you repeat? I didn't. Still no.
Super. All right.
Sorry to join you later.
No, that's okay.
We're just starting.
We're just getting started right now.
Seminar in the office. That's why.
A lot of work to do. Okay.
You had a lot of work if you work in Saturday.
Okay. Have you received my videos? I don't know. I do it just before the seminar. I don't know if it's okay.
You send
Did
it.
you get everything, Theo?
I didn't check in WhatsApp. Yes, I saw the video of Miss Kane.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's in WhatsApp.
Okay, so tomorrow when we have the shorter session with a smaller group, then we will talk about your presentations.
Yes.
So if you didn't get a chance to make one yet, you can still create it on WhatsApp. And if you find that, oh, I can't figure out the technology, then you could just tell us about it tomorrow, you know, on the session. Okay, so that tomorrow we're going to deal with all of that. And today we have the whole group, right? So today we're going to be presenting the first big piece of information, right? That has to do with the first complete module. On Sunday and Wednesdays, our goal is to have smaller groups with a lot more presentation and discussion, because we have like 1 hour sessions on or 30-minute sessions on Sunday and Monday, on Wednesday. Sunday and Wednesdays we'll have two 30-minute sessions for two different groups.
Okay.
All right. So let's begin with this.
Tomorrow will be divided into groups.
Yeah. And so you can move the slide. So today we're going to be talking about, in general, what are leadership skills and how to build internal capacity. Okay. So our food for thought to think about today is this quote that basically says, management is doing the right thing, right? Where leadership is doing the right things. Okay, so
yes,
what we want to think about today. And the areas that we're going to be covering when we talk about building internal capacity is areas of excellence. So what are the areas of excellence in your project? How you are a leader versus just an individual, right? How are you a leader? And how your project will be very effective and show its effectiveness. And then we'll be talking a little bit about what kind of skills we need in the 21st century. And then based on those items, right? Areas of excellence, you as a leader, your effectiveness, and the skills of the 21st century, that adds up to a very unique type of leadership that you display with your project, okay? So those are the ideas that we're going to be exploring today, okay? So let's go to the next slide. And the next slide focuses on this quote. So let's read that together. And if anybody has some ideas right away about it, we can have you, raise your hand and say something about it. So management is doing the right thing, right? But leadership is doing the right things, right? With an S. So this is by Peter Drucker. So what do you think? Do you agree with that? So managing people or managing a project is doing the right thing. But when you're a leader, you have to do many things, and you have to do many things right. Okay. So what do you think? I know that in some of the videos included in the WhatsApp, someone said how leadership was also about inspiring, right? One of our colleagues put that in his video.
Yeah,
because
about inspiration.
Doing the right things. So when you do many things in the right way, you will inspire others. What else happens when you do many things in the right way?
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking that it's good to, how you say, to read it, if we can all read it together.
Yeah. So management is doing the right
we can
thing.
unmute your microphones and we can all read it together. It's good.
And leadership is doing the right things. So what does that mean to you? Have you experienced that before, when in your work or in your studies? When someone was managing your time versus somebody leading you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does anybody have a thought about this?
Probably many times this is happening. About, trying to find the best solution. And
Well, okay, we can think
We
about
cannot
that.
find
So
it.
now we can add that to our ideas, right? To our idea pool. Yes.
I have to,
Okay,
like
let's go on.
AZ idea pool. Yeah?
That's right, exactly. Yeah, that because that must be almost complete. I think we need to
Yes.
take a look at that one on Wednesday, because by Wednesday it'll be completely full. All right, so the 4 P's of innovation. So we know we talk a lot about innovation, right? So you hear that word a lot everywhere, right? Everybody says, oh, I'm doing something innovative, or I am innovative, or my project is innovative, or my office is innovative. Well, what does it really mean? Okay, so this is a test, right? For you to think about if your project is innovative, you need to have it be innovated in these 4 ways, okay? So to make something really, really innovative, it must have a good philosophy, a good product or outcome, how you deal with people, and the process in which you deal with people, okay? So for something to be really innovative, it can't only be a product, you know, like a standalone product, and there's no philosophy behind it, or there's no people that will be affected with it. There's no process, okay? So if you only have one of these things, then it's not really something innovative, yeah? But if you have all 4 of these things, chances are that it is going to be a very innovative project, okay? So this is part of your next layer. The next layer of homework is to think about, what is your philosophy for your project? What is it for, right? And what is the product or the service of your project, right? Some of you talked about this last time we met, and you said, okay, well, I'm going to be doing some agricultural products that people can buy from all over the world. Well, that involves people, right? It involves philosophy, because you want to share healthy, good food with the world. And the product in that case was the vegetables and fruits that you're selling online. And the people is how you're going to affect their health and help them improve their life, right? And the process is going to be how you're presenting and sharing with the global world all the wonderful produce that you have in Senegal, okay? And you're going to be doing that online, okay? So that's one of the ones I remember. But you can think about your own project in these 4 ways. What is the philosophy around what you're doing? What is a product or service? Because products can also mean service. How are you going to deal with the people? And what is the process involved? Okay. So if all 4 P's are present, you have an innovative project. Okay. But if there's only 1 P, it's not necessarily very innovative. It's probably a great project, a good project. But if it has all 4, it's going to be an innovation. Okay. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. Okay. The next one. Right. So who are exemplary leaders? So let's think of some either famous or influential people. And do those famous and influential people, would the list change depending on if it was in the 19th century or today, the year 2021? Or does the list change depending on if it's a different culture? Like, is Nelson Mandela still considered an exemplary leader, whether or not we are in the United States or you're in Africa, right? So Nelson Mandela is an exemplary leader no matter what country we're in, right? Or no matter what culture we're in, yeah? Joan of Arc, right? Or Thomas Edison. So here I have a list of some people who we consider exemplary leaders. So I'll read them off, and I would like to hear from you. Who is a famous person, or they don't have to be famous, they could just be famous for you. Maybe it's your teacher, somebody that you know, or your boss. So who is an exemplary leader? So in this list, we have people like Albert Einstein, right? Or Stephen Jobs. We have Nelson Mandela, right? Winston Churchill, Mahatma Gandhi, right? Julius Caesar, George Washington, Alexander the Great, Joan of Arc, right? So we have a big list here of famous people, or leaders, really leaders that stick out. So can you think of some names that we should add to this list? And then if you just call them out, we will, you know, write them out and add them in the list. The previous list of, yeah, that one. So tell us about some names that we should add to this list.
I think today was event that it's connected with Mr. Mukhtar Mbow. It's some of the UNESCO's presidents, and he was very, very good example of leader.
Okay. Anybody else?
Somebody can share as well, because I don't.
Maybe some leaders from Senegal that we don't know about. Can you tell us some names of those people? And a leader can just be anybody who is influential, right? Or is interesting to you, who's had an impact.
Hello.
Yes.
Is Samafai.
Hello.
Yeah, you could also, you could tell us the name of the leader you're thinking about, and if you want, you could also type it in the chat box.
Wait, for me, Mr. Ibrahim El Asar is a leader for the young people Senegalese.
Okay.
Can you type it in the chat
box
in the
as
chat
well,
box,
so we can later on add it to our list there? Right. Who else? Let's see more people typing in the chat box. So Peter the Great, Thomas Edison, Isaac Newton, Leonardo da Vinci, Jane Goodall. Who else is an example of a leader? Type them in the chat box.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Antojab is a leader.
Great. Who else?
You can write the names here with the chat box, and then we can see. Write it on the chat.
That way we can add to this
You can
list.
also write it even in French. Yes, there was. Yes, you can speak, Mr. Tehanton. Hello.
Nelson Mandela is my exemplary leader.
Exactly. Yeah, he was amazing, right? He's still a leader. I think that's what's interesting about the list that we make of leaders, is that they don't stop being leaders, right? They continue to be leaders. You know, even if they're not here, they continue to be a leader. Oh yeah, good. Okay, so for young. Great. And as you think of these people, that's going to also help you answer some of these questions that we're posing. Okay.
Hmm. Or why this people are.
Right, that's going to help you answer those items, because sometimes you might think, okay, well, maybe think about it. Like I love how the phases of Nelson Mandela's life, right? So what age was he when he became president? Wasn't he like 80, or was he even older than 80?
He was
So,
28 years in jail.
right. So you can see how there was many phases and many different facets of his leadership, right? So he was a leader in different ways. So that's a good one to think about, because it shows that you were a leader in many different moments or different periods or different benchmarks, right? For different kinds of leadership hats, if you will, like, well, now I have to be this kind of a leader, or now I have to be that kind of a leader, right? Okay, so let's think about that list some more. Keep that in the back of your mind. Keep adding to it. Okay, so let's go to that next slide, Theo.
Mm-hmm.
You can move to the next slide.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm still seeing the one of the pencil, but maybe it's because
no. I didn't
thing
move it.
is
Sorry.
frozen.
It's here. You just
Okay.
do you see now? It's
Yes, I see it. Great.
areas of flexiness.
Right. So you could see, like we were talking about that A through Z business last time. And here's just an example of A's, right? So areas of excellence when I'm thinking of some of the leaders on the list. Okay. So if we think of some of the leaders on the list, do they have a sense of being aware of what's going on around them, right? So there's a sense of awareness. What is their attitude, right? When you think of some of those leaders that you typed in the box, what is their attitude? What kind of actions do those people take? Are they people of action, right? Are they people of action? What are their abilities? So even if they may not have a lot of abilities, like 5,000 abilities, but they can certainly have some ability, some specific ability that they display. They also have an aim, right? They're looking for an aim. They're very targeted, an aim. They take aim at something, and that's what they're working on. They have adaptability. Yeah, so that's a really good example of excellence for a leader, is adaptability. They're able to adapt. Yeah. Affability. And what does affability mean? That might be a new word in English for some of you. What does affability mean? Being affable. Maybe you could even look that up in your phone as an English-French translation. What is affable? That's a good word. So check that one out in French. And then they are accountable. So they are accountable. They keep their word, right? They say they're going to do something, and they do it. Yeah. And they have a sense of achievement, right? So they achieve things. Yeah. So these are an appreciation. They have an appreciation for themselves and for others. So look, this is just with A, right? So as we think more about these things, that original A through Z that you'll continue to build on, to gather your thoughts in that A through Z chart, you can start to see that creates for you a resource, a toolbox, if you will, right? A framework to help you in your work for your project. And all of these things that we're discussing are things that you can think about them from two sides, right? One side from the standpoint of this leader that you're thinking about as an influential example, and from the other side for your own project, and for you. Okay, so it's like a coin, a double-sided coin. We can look at it from this big point of someone that you're thinking about, the names that you typed in your chat box, and then think about it for your project. And within your project, think about it for yourself as the leader of the project. And if you want to create this in other people, right? Because you want the young people of Senegal to benefit from your project and to become leaders themselves, right? A lot of you mentioned that in your presentations a few days ago, that you want the young people to become the new leaders, to become the new entrepreneurs, to become the new influencers. So therefore, you think about it, that this list, areas of excellence, will be like that rock that we throw in the water, right? And it's going to create some ripples in the water, and those ripples go out, right? So first we learned from somebody that we're thinking about as a model, those famous people that you're thinking about. Then we look at it from the standpoint of our project. Then we look at it from our standpoint. How are you displaying these areas of excellence? What do you need to work on? What do you need to add? What do you need to subtract? What do you have that's A-okay right now? And then think about how you're going to create other leaders, right? From the young people. So these become very flexible. Becomes like the ripples in a pond. Are there any other words that we can add to this? Any other areas of excellence? If you think of some, type them in your chat box. They don't have to be necessarily with the letter A. As you can see, I was just playing with you by just putting the letter A, but woof, we can explore this with A through Z, right? And we already did. We already had quite a few letters. We need to compile that A through Z to see where we're at. I think we're almost finished with it. So now we can actually add more to each letter. So where was our A through Z? And we can go deeper, in the list. So first we had one layer, but then we can go deeper into that layer. So areas of excellence to think about, and there are many other areas of excellence. So you can type the words in your chat box, right? Awareness. Will your project create an awareness of something that people haven't been thinking about or looking at? What's the attitude of yourself, of the project, of the clients or the people that you're going to work with? How are you going to change their attitude or build their attitude? Right? What are the action steps? Yeah. What's their ability? What are you taking aim at? So with the purpose of your projects, what's the aim? How is it adaptable? How you can use it for many different populations. Right? That was a new word, I think, for a lot of you. So affability, how is that an area of excellence? And accountability, what is the accountability in your project? And what's the achievement level for your project and for you? Yeah. So we got all of those, right? And the appreciation, what's the level of appreciation? So these are just some areas of excellence to think about. Okay. So let's go on to the next slide. And if you think of more as we're moving through this, go ahead and type them in the chat box just to capture your ideas. All right, so now we're going to take a look at this one, and this one's for us together to build it. So there's some blanks here. So for you to help us fill in these blanks. So looking at just one possibility of what is the impact for youth leaders or youth participants in your project, what is the project, and for the individual. So we're going to look at it from those three perspectives. So in the environment that you're creating your project, what is the impact of the project? Let's look at it from two angles, from leadership and from skills, right? So who are the leaders? What does the change, how does the change occur? And what are the strengths? So let's add some things to these squares here. And I think the Zoom have like a little whiteboard that you can pull up and we can type on it. I think so, or maybe, or you could do it on the chat box too, right? So some ideas about the impact on your project. So think about your project and let's find six words or 6 ideas about your project. Yeah, excellent. That's great, Theo. So we can write them down here. So who can jump in there? So how do you want to create youth leaders, for example? So leaders in what? Leaders in agriculture, leaders in computers, leaders in business, community leaders, neighborhood leaders. What kind of leaders are we going to be creating the project that you have in mind?
Hello.
Yep.
Hello.
Yes, hi there. We're ready for you.
I'm Mr. Falumbai.
Yep.
And I'm an agronomical engineer.
Great. Okay.
Okay. I'm very happy to participate to this meeting. And my philosophy is to be a better version of myself.
Okay.
And I want to create, to build an enterprise of agro business.
Great. So entrepreneur and agro business.
In Senegal.
Great.
And I want to influence positively all children in Africa.
Great. So we're going to be influencing all the children in Africa, right? And then what skills do you want them to have in agro business? You want them to be able to choose how they do that, or what are the skills you're thinking about?
I don't understand. Can you reformulate?
Yeah, like for them to become an entrepreneur in agribusiness, what do they need to know how to do? So do they need to know about the crops? Do they need to know about nature? Do they need to know about business? Do they need to know about sales?
To grow. We want to grow rice.
Okay. Rice. Good.
We want to grow rice.
Excellent.
Because rice is a excellent food in Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 90% of people of Senegalese eat rice.
Okay. Good. So then the growing rice, and the reason, that's very good, because that would answer the question of the project. The reason of the project is because 90% of the people in Senegal eat rice, so it's going to be important. It's accessible to everybody, right? And it's also good for them, right? Rice.
Yes, it's very good.
Healthy, right? So R-I-C-E. Rice. R-I-C-E. And how's about for each individual? Like you were mentioning the thing about the entrepreneurship. So how would the individual benefit from your project?
Okay. Well, we want to work in group with partner, because this project is a very big project for an individual. That's why we invite many people to participate to this project.
Right. So you're gonna get like a consortium of people, yeah, partners. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's
it
right.
was
Good.
my project.
That was very clear. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody else want to share? Somebody else ready to share? Let's look at your project from these 6 perspectives. Shall we hear from one of the ladies? Okay, well, you can think about it, right? So we want to have you think about what is the impact of your project. And we're looking at impact from these perspectives, youth, creating new youth leaders, right? The project itself, and then how it affects the individual, right? So the project, the big project, and then the individuals within the project, and then how it's going to build leadership within Senegal and your project, and how it will help them develop skills, right? So that they can have skills that last them a lifetime, okay? So the environment, what is the impact of your project? What are the leadership and skills? Who are the leaders? Do we want to target young people, old people, girls, build the self-esteem of young men? Who are the leaders? How does that change occur? So what are the actions in your project, right? And then what are the strengths of your project that you're going to be transferring to the individual, right? So most of these projects are big projects, yeah? So how does it go with the individual within the big project? Anybody else want to share? And you can think about it, and then you can always share on the WhatsApp, or you can share on tomorrow, Sunday, when we do our presentations. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. All right, so building a culture of change, right? So we know that we can build, we live within a culture, but every project takes on its own flavor. So every project becomes its own culture, right? Your own unique working project culture, okay? So we think about this in terms of 6 different ways, and we're going to be talking a lot more in depth about this 6 different ways in the next session next week. But I want you to start thinking about it, you know, put it in the back of your mind and how it relates to your project and to your way of being a leader. So 6 different ways to embrace culture within your project. 1, keep it simple, right? So that you can be able to tell someone about your project fairly quickly, right? So just like our colleague, he opened up by saying, I'm an agronomy engineer, and I want young people to become entrepreneurs in agribusiness. Okay, so that's very simple. Yeah, and keep it global. So not only is it simple, but here's the good part, it could go from very small to very big. Okay, so you can do something simple, maybe with just one or two people, but it could also become very big. It could be for all of the people in Dakar. It could also become for all of the people in Senegal. And eventually it could become for a global impact. Okay, because that's what your end goal is. So something that's good for one person, good for a group of people, good for a city, good for a country, good for, you know, a continent, good for the world. Yeah. And then think about it as something measurable. Can you measure it? Right? So is it something that you can measure? Okay, I wanted to create many agricultural business youth leaders. So how many did you get? One. And then that person, how many did he affect or impact? Oh, he built a rice field that now feeds 2 villages. See, so that's very measurable, okay? Think about it in terms of providing support. Okay? So you're providing support, training and coaching. Brings us back to the first day, right? The quote about education. And we said, even though your project is a business project, it may also have an aspect of education. And then think about getting new ideas and feedback from other people. Yeah? The more you talk about it with people, or you discuss it, or you build your team, you're going to get more ideas, right? So one idea develops more ideas. Yeah. And then think about how you can recognize and celebrate and reward your performance, the performance of your team, and the performance of your students or your youth leaders or your clients or your audience. Okay. So this was just an introductory one today, but we're going to go deeper into these 6 different ways in the next Saturday. But this is for you to start thinking about, okay? Because these 6 things are embraced in every business, venture, project that you work with. So they are always present, and they build their own internal flavor, your own unique working project culture. Yeah. So you can see this sometimes in big companies. Big companies have their own corporate culture, but you also see it in projects that are worked on. Each project has its own culture, right? So each project has its own culture. The people that work with you on your team will color the culture of your project. Okay, so as you expand your ideas and you bring people in to work with you, think about how this unique combination of people is going to help create a unique culture, a unique business project culture. Okay, so we'll come back to that one next week. All right, the slide there. All right, so what kind of leadership might there be? Again, this is something we're going to be talking about a lot as the days go on or our sessions unfold. Let's think of leadership from these 4 perspectives. We might think of it in different ways. So think about these words, and I think these words are very similar to the French. So it should be pretty easy for you to think about them. Transformational leadership. So these are the people who are really going to be making a big shift, you know, and transforming themselves and other people around them. Transactional leadership. So based on the actions that they take, that's how they lead. Okay. And that's how they change people, through the actions that are being taken. And then participative leaders are where they are asking everybody else to take the role of leadership. They're sharing the role of leadership. And so everyone who participates is a leader in their own way. Okay. And then delegative leadership. These are people who delegate. They say, you go do that, and you go do that. So these are leaders that see qualities of leadership in other people, and they go, oh, you're in charge of this. You go do that. You should work on this. Okay, so delegating. And in this chart, you can see here the chart, that circle on the chart, the line or the flow on the chart, going from directing, you know, the boss that just tells you what to do, to coaching, okay, which is where you're kind of helping them develop their own skills. You're still kind of telling them because maybe they don't know yet. So you have to impart the skill. But once they know a little bit, you can then start coaching them, right? To what? Supporting when they're doing it, right? When they're doing it. And then delegating so that the team breaks out and you end up with lots of mini teams that can affect change. So then you have like an exponent. Yeah. So then it moves further and further and further, right? You're not the only one doing it. Everybody else is doing it. So it's almost like may start with you, but then you end up with 10 leaders. And those 10 leaders end up with 20. And those 20 might end up with 40 or might end up with 400, right? So it becomes an exponential growth, right? Where you're sharing with other people how they can become leaders. Again, this is something that we will have actually one session on each one of these. So we're going to have a whole session on transformational leadership, a session on transactional, a session on participative, and a session on delegative. Okay. So this will be 4 whole sessions on this. So we'll dive a lot deeper into this. But again, I always like to have you think about things. So it's almost like an overview of everything, and you can keep thinking about it and think about it. How are you? Like some people already typed what kind of a leader they think they are, right? Maybe you're a different kind of leader depending on the situation. Or maybe you're a different kind of leader depending on the project. Yeah. So that might be the case as well. Okay. Good. Any initial comments? And notice in the graph that we've put here for you, see, like in the quadrants, high directive and high supportive behavior. That's something present in coaching, okay? Where in directing, you have high directive and low supportive behavior, because at that point, you're just explaining things to people, right? But later on as a coach, it's both high direction and high supportive. But then, oh, look what happens when you move to supporting. It flips, right? The coin flips on its head, flips. Now it's high supportive and low directive, yeah? And then when you're delegating, it's low supportive and low directive, because why? You gave it away, right? You gave them the wings to fly. Now they're flying by themselves, okay? So think about that, okay? And like I said, we'll be going very deeply in 4 separate sessions about these 4 types so that you can most benefit from them. Okay, any thoughts about that? And then we'll move on. And this one, again, we're going to revisit this one multiple times. Food for thought.
I was saying that it was a good sharing what type of leaders did
Yeah.
everybody recognize.
Yeah, and you can type that in your chat box so that who are you
Or
participative? Are you delegative? Are you and you might be these in different moments, right? So maybe in the beginning, you have the vision of what your project is. So you have to share your vision. But once people understand what you're doing, they get excited about that and they start to do it with you, right? So then you have more participation. So it expands. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And as you think about it, you can keep typing in the chat box so that we can capture your ideas. So effectiveness, right? So we're talking about innovation. We talked about earlier today, right? And what is innovation? To be forward thinking, comfortable with risk, a certain point, right? We know that effectiveness has to do with support. So you're enthusiastic about your project, but how do you keep that energy up, right? Keep the energy up day by day, week by week, month by month. How do you inspire action? How do you keep the enthusiasm and the energy high? And then, of course, educating people to your project. Yeah. So the education indispensable. What are the skills they need, and what is the implementation strategy? Okay. So what are the qualities you want in the people that are going to be in your team? All right. So are they creative? Are they motivated? What's the vision? Are they empathetic? They can feel for other people. Right. So you've considered that rice is consumed by 90% of the Senegalese. So therefore, if you work with rice, that should be a product, a crop that will have a good impact on 90% of the country. Okay, so it goes full circle, right? So what's the style of leadership that suits the environment in which you're working? Maybe it's participative, right? As some of you have put in the text box. What is the mindset? Okay, and what is the cultural situations? So we talked about this on the last session. We said, are the young people of Senegal self-motivated? Remember that slide we talked about? Are they self-motivated? Are they willing to learn new things? Do they want to learn new things? And even if they don't know how to learn new things, are they willing to, right? Remember that we were talking about what is the mindset of some of your future clients, who is going to receive the impact of your project. Okay, so let's hear from some of your groups here about this. So what is the qualities and the style? And then you can think about it from these 3 points of view, right? Innovate, support, educate. So what is the effectiveness of your projects? Okay. So we'll pause for a second for some of you to raise your hands and share with us.
Hi, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't want it to bother you because there were many strikes there about our seminar. So now it is okay. I just want to share with the effectiveness of our project.
Yes, yes.
It is something innovate. I can tell that because we had to uh, have a platform, an innovate platform that we associate numerics and agriculture.
Yeah.
And for the support for our actions, we focus on two politics: inclusive educations and agribusiness entrepreneurship. With the kind of entrepreneurship, solidarity entrepreneurship is agribusiness, and the other support is uh, uh, how to say it, correlate with the educations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have many strategies that we want to share with members, with partner, to do our best to success in this project.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. I liked how you explained that because it almost was like a cycle, right? So you could see how all of these kind of connect.
Yes. Thanks a
And
lot.
what do you think about your style based on what you said? It looks almost like if you're thinking now of a style. Like, is it transformational? Is it participative? Maybe it's all four.
Uh, both of I can say both of them, both of them.
Yes.
That we
Okay.
are inspired with as a partners, and uh, I was I was studies and have many relationship with there. That's why we can collaborate, all of us.
Oh, I like that, the way you just said that. You said the relationships are all there. That's why we can collaborate,
Of
all of
course.
us. Okay, that really shows a lot. In fact, Theo, can you go to the last slide? Because what she just said is really good illustration of all four of those things. The previous one. Back it up. Oh, the other way, the other direction. The other direction, like the one we had just had the four types, and the one before this. Yeah, before, not after.
Ah, okay.
Before, in
Yeah.
the other direction.
Yes. Sorry.
That one, yeah. So when she was saying that there's a relationship, and now that one there with the little graph, right? The relationship shows that it was transformational. It was the next slide. Yeah, the next one. There, right? So she said that's related, so therefore it relates to all of us. So you could then see the swing of the pendulum, right? So then it would go from the passionate idea to how it affects everybody. Okay, good. That's a really good description. Thank you for sharing that. All right, go back to that other slide, Theo, and see if somebody else wants to share to the next one. That one there. Okay. Who else wants to share? Thank you very much. No, let's keep on the other one. Yeah, the excellence, the
Yes.
areas of excellence, the previous one. There, effectiveness. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Okay. So anybody else? One more person? One more project that we can look at? Okay, well, we'll keep thinking about it, right? And then we'll move on. And you know we're going to come back to it because you know us by now, right? So see the next one. So 3 pillars of innovation. So you may know that your project is innovative, right? Because it had the 4 P's: philosophy, product or service, people, and process, right? The 4 P's. But now what's going to hold it up? What's going to keep it moving forward? What's going to sustain it for the future? You know, so 3 pillars that are going to hold it up. Okay. So leadership is an important pillar in any project that is innovative. Skills, you have to have some skills that either you're imparting or training people in or coaching people in, teaching them some new skills, sharing skills with each other. And then the environment in which you're working has to be conducive for innovation, right? So that environment in which you're working is going to flavor, is going to create the milieu of innovation, right? So if it's too stagnant or too traditional, innovation gets dampened, you know, because it's too slow. But if the environment creates a space for innovation, then you have more innovation happen. So one of the skills that we invited you to do, and we're going to really be pushing you to do it more and more, is to think about this, taking notes. Most people, in terms of their learning style, are kinesthetic. They learn by moving, by doing. And so in this kind of a situation, you can write your notes, or you can draw a picture or doodle, make a little design to capture your ideas, right? So whatever form that you like to take notes in. So you're playing with the information by writing it down in a particular color. Remember, we had invited you to have some colored markers or pens and some paper to write your ideas in, right? So we had said, oh, get yourself like a little notebook of sorts so that you can then write your ideas on the paper and colored pens. So using that tactile kinesthetic, we'll keep coming back to those, right? So what are those? That's a skill. A skill is to capture your ideas in a tactile kinesthetic manner by either writing the words or drawing a picture or making a doodle, a little design, okay? Looking for improving your English, you could see that, wow, what are some of those words might be similar in French, so that's okay. But like that one word today, affable, maybe that was a new word for some of you guys, so write that one down, okay? And later on, I think it'll be either next week or the week after that, right, Theo? They're going to get their playbook. Is that correct? And then in their playbook, hopefully we can print that out for you and you can be gathering all of the ideas. And by the end, you will have a complete document that will help you further develop your project. Okay. So I think that's coming next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
Next week or the week after that. I can't remember the exact date, but it's coming. So for now, you've been putting your ideas in your own paper and so on. And it's always good to color code. I find it's very important to color code things, you know, to have 3 different colors of something so that you can then say, oh, this is in red, I'm going to mark things that I want to do something about. In blue, I want to think about it. And then in orange, I'm going to write something about it or something like that, or I'm going to delegate that. Okay, so 3 pillars that hold up innovation are leadership. How are you a leader? What are the skills that you're going to be sharing with your people on your project? How does your project create a skill, right? So our colleague told us about developing the rice crops. That's a skill. There's a whole skill to how do you choose the right grain? How do you plant it in the ground? How do you water it? How do you make sure that it grows? Then how do you pick it? How do you bring it to market for sale? Okay, so a whole cycle there is skill. And then what's the environment in which you are working? And what's the environment that you're creating for other people to better themselves and to work in? Okay, so as you can see, even behind me here, I showed you that I have almost like a little mini classroom, you know, on my wall, right? And for those people who have been to my live classes, like Theo has, he can tell you and maybe show you pictures later that I created a whole room. And each room is for a different group of people and for a different topic. So I immerse myself in that environment and I immerse my students in that environment so that you can create new things there. Now, when we're finished, well, it all becomes white walls again, okay? So think about how you create environment. Maybe it's a psychological environment. It's a way of being, a mindset. And then what are the skills and what's the leadership style? So you had 4 P's of innovation, right? Philosophy, products, people, and process. But how do we hold that up? How do we sustain it? We need 3 pillars to hold it up, okay, to make sure it stays up. That's leadership, skills, and environment, okay? All right, so let's move on to the next one. Yeah, so those are your 4 P's. And then to that, let's review very quickly there. We are thinking about somebody that we might know that's a good leader, see if that applies to them. Then we're going to think of areas of excellence. We're going to build our own culture and so on. So when do you step in as a leader and when do you step out? Okay, so what strategies do you use? Make a list of those. When do you become delegative, right, where you're telling somebody what to do? And when do you step away and let them figure it out? So when do you step in and when do you step out, right? So what are the strategies that you can use? All right, so today we looked there in the A's. We saw a whole bunch, right? Achievement, attitude, right? And we talked about some of these verbs of actions, of leading. So when do you step in and when do you step out? Does somebody have some ideas of that? So as a leader with your team, as you're developing your project, when do they need you to tell them about something or teach them about something? And when do you just push back a little bit and let them think about it? Just like we're doing here, right? So these are all new aspects. That's why we had the whole group meet together today, because it's the whole new group idea. But then we'll step out and have individual groups, you know, little groups, smaller groups, where you'll get an opportunity to talk more about these things and how they apply to your project. And that you can maybe even give examples of where you work or where you go to school or you study. So as a teacher, I think one of our colleagues said he teaches computer skills, right, at a school with young boys, I think he said. Is that person here today? And he teaches computers, right? So when, as a teacher of teaching computers, when do you get up on the board and tell them something about the computers or tell them to do something on the computer? When do you have to tell them that? When do you step in? Maybe when you're teaching something new, when you're explaining something new that they don't know about, right? But then when do you step out? When do you step aside, step out? Is when you want them to practice, when you want them to use what you just taught them, right? So you tell them about something and then you step out and they practice it or they elaborate, right? So what kind of strategies do you use? At what moment is the right moment? Step in versus step out. So our young colleague was telling us also in one of the sessions that she was preparing a song for the mothers to teach the parts of the face. Was that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Sino? Nako nak. Gaya kisa.
Yep. Go ahead.
Tawa. Silo na. Santo borom.
Yep, we can hear you. So our colleague that gave the example of the song.
Mr. Falumbai,
Yes?
your micro.
Go ahead, you can share. And if you want to, you could also write it in the chat box. If your microphone isn't working too well, you could just type it in the chat box.
He was talking about the face song.
Yeah, so one of our colleagues, I think it was one of the young ladies, right, told us that she was creating a song for the mothers to teach the children about the parts of the face, right? So when does she have to step in? She would have to maybe sing the song herself so that the parents learn the words of the song. Maybe she would also show them, okay, where the parts of my eyes, like we have a song like that, head, shoulder, knees and toes, knees and toes. So in that case, I'm going to touch it. You know, my eyes and ears and nose, head, shoulder, knees and toes. So there's another song, but I would teach it by showing the parts of the body. I'm sure our colleague had a different song. And then once I teach it to them, then I can step out. I can step aside and let them sing the song together and sing it to each other, right? So eventually you as the leader would demonstrate it. Then once you demonstrated it, you would step aside and then they would demonstrate it. And then they could step aside. And before you know it, your students or your clients, you might see them on a bus stop singing the song to themselves, right? Because they've now got it in their head, right? Same thing with the rice. You told us about your project with rice. So in the beginning, you have to step in, right, to share your vision for that project and maybe to impart the skills that are needed. And then you can step out when people are actually planting the rice crops and tending to the crops and then gathering, harvesting the rice to sell in market. Okay? So think about your project in terms of when you're stepping in, when you're stepping out, because that's going to help. Song. Yeah, it's going to help you define your style of leadership. Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a very good idea of singing that song.
Yeah, so little do you know, right, that those examples that you've been giving us are perfect examples to answer these questions. And those examples help you make it more concrete what you're going to do with your project. So we're being very divergent in our thinking, right? So we're thinking in different ways about how we can bring all of those good, strong attributes into the project that you're working in. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So what are the facts, right? So the facts are there's one universe, right? There's 9 planets. There's 204 countries. There's 809 islands, 7 seas. And wow, those people that work are going to have the pleasure of working with you. Think about what a synchronicity has to happen so that all the people in Dakar, but then certain people are going to work with you. So how does that happen and why does that happen? Okay. Our teacher who trained me and who trained Theo, Dr. Georgie Lazanoff and Dr. Evelina Gatova, they used to say that they started teaching you when they got the list of the names of the students. Imagine that, right? So even before they would see you, as soon as they got the list of the names of the students, that's when they started working with you. Funny, huh? So think about what has to happen so that certain people are going to work with you on a project. There's a lot of people out there, right? So what is attracting those people to you and to your project? What makes that project very special, right? So sometimes as a leader, you might just be in the background. People may not even know you're there. They might not even know your name. Yeah. But the project was like gravity pulling them to your project. How many people want to work in agro business? Pulling those people to your project. How many people agree with you that rice is an important crop for Senegal? Pulling those people to your project. How many youngsters want to have their own business or become entrepreneurs? Pulling like gravity to your project. How many people want to work on computers? Some other colleague told us about their project. Pulling, a gravitational pull. Okay, so I like to think about this when I'm working on a project, is what makes that project special, right? One big universe, 9 different planets, 204 countries, right? 809 islands, 7 seas, and yet this particular group is going to work with you. So what makes that project special enough for them to work with you on that project? Okay. Again, think, so that we can share these ideas in our presentations and our discussions. Did anything else pop out for you? You can put it in the chat box or you could raise your hand. And you could think about something right now before presentations tomorrow.
Everybody can share.
Yeah, you can write it in the chat box. And okay. Okay, so you can move to the next one.
Most of the time, actually, that most of the time the people make projects special.
That's right. People end up making a project special, huh?
Not the equipment or innovations or anything that you can do or have when you have the right people. Create everything else after.
Okay, anybody else want to share?
Yeah, Mr. Theodore.
Yes.
For me, I have noted the satisfaction of besoin.
Satisfaction, yes.
The satisfaction of what you mean by the satisfaction? Sure. Can you say it again? Because
Yeah, Mr. Theodore.
yes, I'm.
The people have exigence.
Mm-hmm. Exams
So
of
some of them have exams and they need to do a good
The,
job on their exams.
the people have exams. For
yes,
example,
yes, yes. To learn by example.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Excellent. Good. Mhm.
You need to have
Good
example.
one. Learning by
Okay.
example.
Learning, for example. Very, very nice.
About one more. Okay. Well, we think about it some more. So it could be many different things. Okay. Move on to the other slide, Neil. Right. So to summarize, and you're going to want to be thinking about this for tomorrow, so we can share more tomorrow. We'll have 2 small groups tomorrow. So 2 30-minute presentations, right? What do they need to know, right? Because that's going to give us some information about the skills and the environment that we're going to create. What do you need to know, right? So one thing is what you want them to know, and another thing is then what do you need to know in order to accomplish that, right? And then what is the unique contribution? So like our colleague just said there, to lead by example. Okay, so that's a contribution. I'm going to lead by example. Okay, and what does that mean? The contribution is what's your unique voice, right? So our colleague just said leading by example. Another colleague said, I want to make sure that there's enough rice crops because 90% of the people in Senegal eat rice. So that means that if you have enough young people embarking on agricultural endeavors of rice and selling rice and planting rice and farming rice, that's going to benefit not only Senegal, but other neighboring African countries, right? So that can have a big ripple impact. The same as our colleague of the agribusiness of selling the fruits and the vegetables online, right? On a platform. So your unique voice is agribusiness, rice, fruit, vegetables, so on, or entrepreneurship to inspire others to build their own company and their own enterprise, maybe micro businesses. Yeah. So that's your unique voice. What makes you the unique contributor to help others do this? Yeah. So we looked in the beginning of the session today at names of different leaders. So that was their unique voice. They had a unique voice, right? Mandela had a very unique voice. And that voice was not quieted. Even today, we can hear his voice, right? What he was wanting us to do. So what is your voice as an entrepreneur? Do you feel empathy for people? Do you feel compassion? And that's why you want to help them? Do you want to lift them up, right? What is your contribution, okay? So think about this summary, some ideas that you thought about today, and then tomorrow we'll go through each one of you in your smaller groups for you to share some more ideas. So as you can see, this is another layer to what you were doing before, right? So it was okay if you made your little videotape or you made your recording, and now you can add to it, right? And those people who hadn't quite done it yet, they can present it with this extra layer, right? So what What do they need to know? What do you need to know, right? What is the unique contribution of the project, and what is your voice? The double-sided coin. What's good for them is good for you, right? So as they grow, you grow. As they benefit, you benefit, right? So the project is unique. You are unique. Your voice is unique. You had the vision to do something, and you had a mission to accomplish it. Okay. So think about that for tomorrow. Okay. Maybe you can capture a picture of that one, and we put that one on WhatsApp for you to think about tonight before our session tomorrow and on Wednesday. All right. And the next one. Okay. So when we'll begin talking about this one a couple of weeks from now, but again, it's like an overview, is to think about the different groups that you're going to be working with. Are you going to be always working with young people? In which case, those young people are this Generation Z. You're probably, based on your age group, you're probably a Generation X or a Generation Y. I'm a baby boomer. I'm an old lady, right? But most of you, based on your presentations before, I bet you are X's or Y's. You're in your what, 20s or your 30s or your 40s. But your target population are what we call Generation Z. And so we'll be talking a lot more about this in another session. But just to give you a little seedling here about how complex young people are, that when we think about who they are as a new Generation Z, there's actually 6 types of behavior and attitudes within Generation Z. Imagine that. That's how evolved this new generation is, which are like 18, 19, 20, youngster 15 years old, okay? So they're social butterflies. They like to talk a lot. They like to share. They're on social media a lot, right? They're on their phones all the time, texting their friends. They're early adapters, which means that they like electronics, right? They like to go on the platform and so on. But they also are blenders. They know how to work with computers and electronics and cell phones, but they also like face-to-face. They like to talk with their friends on the phone, go have a cup of coffee with them or have a snack with them. Some of them are big talkers. They have big plans for the future. They want to make an impact on society. So that's why this is a really good group for you to work with, right? Because this particular group wants to make a difference. So I think it's perfect that a lot of you are saying you want them to become the leaders. You want to create that exponential effect. They're movers and shakers. So they like to actually get things started. So they might hear you and then they go, okay, I know what to do. I want to do it. And then they just go and do it, right? So they have those different aspects, and they like to know the nuances. They're mad scientists. They like to understand how things work. So if you wanted me to do some rice crop, how does that work? What do I do? What do I put the rice in the dirt? Do I need to put it in water? What kind of dirt do I need to use? Do I put it on a hillside? Do I put it on flat land? Do I need to irrigate the land? Right? So if somebody is buying fruits and vegetables from your platform and they're going online to do that, how does that work? Do I just check off which fruit I want? Do I need to write the word down? Do I need to just click it? And then how are you going to send it to me? Do I pay you here? Are you going to send it to me in the mail? Is someone going to deliver it? Right? So they like to understand the depth of what's going on. So this is a very interesting group, young people. Young people are a very interesting group because never before in these generations were there so many types and attributes within one generation. So baby boomers like me, they're not even on this chart, right? Because I'm an old lady, but young people like yourselves, X's and Y's, have certain attributes, things they want to do. But a Z has these 6 different components. So check and see if you understand your audience, right? Because that's going to help you deal with 2 P's and the 4 P's of innovation, right? The people and the process. How you're going to work with the people and what process are you going to embark on? Okay, so think about who they are. Always going back to who they are and who are you? How do you interact with them? How do they interact with you? How do you interact with your product or your service? And how does the product and the service interact back with you? What's your philosophy? What's their philosophy? What are these lines that intersect? Okay. So not the next slide deal, but the one after that. Yeah, so remember, you're going to summarize that for tomorrow, right? So what do they need to know? What do you need to know? What's their impact? What's your voice? Okay. Yep, the next one. The next one, yeah. There you go. So how do we get started, right? So you want to observe carefully. What is the situation, right? Why your project, right? What's your vision for your project? You've already been able to share that in 1 sentence, 2 sentences. You got that rehearsed, right? You've been working on that. And then you're going to make an intelligent hypothesis about that, right? But then you're going to use your imagination. And what else can you do with that? And you're going to think creatively. So again, another facet of your presentation. So it's like if your presentation were a diamond and there's many sides to look at the project, okay? So you're looking at your project from many angles to make sure that it's solid. Okay, so today we've talked about, was your project innovative, right? What were areas of achievement? What were areas of effectiveness? We talked about what's your voice? What's their voice, right? The double-sided aspect of that. And how to get started with this, right? So you've observed carefully so that you know there's a need for your project. You have a vision for your project. And all of these things that we're talking about will help you create your vision statement and your mission statement, which of course you would want to include in your project, your business proposal. What's the vision for your business? What's the mission for your business? So all these things that we've been talking about today help contribute to that, right? Then you're going to make an intelligent hypothesis. If I do this, what will happen? If I do rice, how does that affect, who does that affect? Wow, 90% of the people. A lot, right? And then you're going to use your imagination about how you're going to do that in a new and interesting, creative way, right? You have to think creatively, use your imagination about how you're going to make it new and different. Our young colleague said, we're going to have a platform. So right there, the product of the platform makes it innovative. But what's the philosophy she's going to put to her platform? What's the process? What are the people involved? By using your imagination, you're going to extend out from her mind to share it with everybody else, to give it to everybody else as a gift to move on, right? So making an intelligent hypothesis, using your imagination about where can it go, right? Suspend disbelief. Keep it going. Keep it going. What can happen? Keep inspiring yourself and feeding the passionate idea of your project. And then think creatively. Think creatively. Okay, so those are some things we're going to consider tomorrow. And then I think there's a couple more slides.
Imagination is so important, yes.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to think about those things because that's going to direct the traffic of your idea. So it takes just one spark, one idea, and what's going to fuel that idea. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to have 2 smaller groups. Is that correct? Yeah. And
Yes.
then we will have you each share more of your ideas, take another layer to it, go a little deeper to tell us a little bit more of your project. Any questions at this moment? And then we have one last slide of, I think it's a song, right, that we're going to put on. Deal.
Yes,
So any other questions you want to text, you put them in your chat box or raise your hand now. Or send us something in your, send us something in the WhatsApp. Okay, so you can go to that other slide, which is the song. It takes about 5 minutes, but the words are really good. So you can, we'll hopefully put up the CC, the words, the closed caption, so you can see the words of the song. All right, so Theo, you want to move to that slide? I think it's the next one.
I just want to share the voice as well.
Yeah.
Can you hear? No?
I can't hear, but can you hear each other?
Can you hear? Let me. It's supposed to be shared the sound as well. As the others hear, can you give us your feedback? Can you hear?
Yeah, just lift up your thumbs up.
Can you hear now?
We hear you. I'm here.
Yes, you are hearing. Okay, Libyan, you're not hearing. Okay.
No, I can hear now. Now I can hear her. Yeah. So I could hear. So maybe if you take it out of this mode and just put the YouTube link in, that might be easier.
To make
I
it,
haven't put it in there, but
make it wider. I cannot make it. Yes. Let me. We can hear it here as well. I mean, you want it to be in the full screen.
yeah.
Okay.
And then we can always give them the link on WhatsApp and they can listen to it later. There you go.
Okay, let me find it. Until that, if somebody wants to share something, it's possible.
If anybody else has a quick question, we'll listen to that song and then we will see you tomorrow. I hope this was helpful and useful and giving you lots of things to think about, adding more ideas for your project. Yep.
So I'm very happy for this meeting because I realize there is more how to say it again. There is more orientations that I have, that we have on the same way again, and I think I can do my best to manage my activities according to what I hear for this meeting.
Good, good. I'm glad that gave you some food for thought. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, things to think about. That kind of helps directions.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I'm glad that's helpful. Anybody else while Theo gets the technology aspect going?
I'm ready, actually.
You're ready? Okay.
I hope.
Let's
Let
share
me
it.
see.
There we go.
Yes, but probably we can invite everybody to sing as well, to try to repeat the words and.
Yeah, and you've got the words there, right? So if you press the CC, it'll show us the words in the bottom of the screen.
Okay, the sound should be shared as well.
Every day I run a race, just trying to get ahead. Don't think about where I am now, just where I wanna be instead. I'm losing so much precious time, but will I be satisfied in the end? Oh, in the end. I don't wanna spend my life trying to fight for what's not mine. I don't wanna lose myself in someone else's dream. I know I was made with a purpose to reach past the surface, live life fearlessly. I want nothing less than to be who I'm meant to be. Everyone is on their way, but I am standing still, comparing my behind the scenes against their highlight reel. I'm burning so much energy, won't let it keep distracting me anymore. Anymore. I don't wanna spend my life trying to fight for what's not mine. I don't wanna lose myself in someone else's dream. I know I was made with a purpose to reach past the surface, live life fearlessly. I want nothing less than to be who I'm meant to be. Nothing less than who I'm meant to be. Live life with purpose, reach past the surface. It's who I'm meant to be. I don't wanna spend my life trying to fight for what's not mine. I don't wanna lose myself in someone else's dream. I know I was made with a purpose to reach past the surface, live life fearlessly. I want nothing less. I want nothing less than to be who I'm meant to be.
Mr. Theodore.
Yeah,
Sen-
it looks like
Sen-
you got kind of
Sen-
lost the connection there.
Senjay.
Yeah.
Mr. Theodore, you are a singer or a dancer?
Can you repeat? Excuse me.
Yeah, it froze
You
there.
are you are a singer or a dancer?
Are you the singer or a dancer? Mr. Theodore,
Both, both.
A dancer, a dancer.
So
Okay.
That's a
All
very good
right.
question.
Well, thank you so much. And then we
I
sent you
hope
the
next
song
time we
in
can sing together. I
WhatsApp.
want to sing together. That we,
And I sent it to you on WhatsApp so that you can see the words. So the good part is if you press the CC, you can see the words there. So that is great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions for today?
somebody wants to add something to say it now.
The
All right.
meeting today is very interesting.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was. I hope we're gonna support each other to catch up, and please use the WhatsApp group as well. We can try to tape over there in English and share everything. It's possible, and to support each other and to learn new things in English.
And if you see
Okay.
some of the colleagues who were not here today,
Okay.
of course, they're going to get the recording, right? So the recording goes to everybody so they can listen to it as well. And you can listen to it to review it. You know, sometimes some things escape or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Super. Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you have a
Okay.
wonderful afternoon or evening. Let me see, what time is it again?
Now it's 5 to
1
6,
p.m. It's what, 3, right? Almost 3 o'clock?
almost 3 o'clock in the current.
Well, it's time for tea. Ready
Time
for
for
tea.
tea.
That's right. As you know, I'm ready my tea here. I like green tea, so I'm ready. All right. Bye.
Have
Okay,
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
the
much.
listening.
bye. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. I will send the
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.
goodbye,
Okay.
everybody.